Welcome to Inside Leisure World. In collaboration with the Seal Beach Community TV, Leisure World video producers have aired this program monthly for almost 20 years. I am Mary Apt, a longtime video producer, and I'm hosting today. I have a guest with me. Today's episode is called The Iconic Palm, but in the studio with me is Susie Ralston, who is the president of the Art League, and soon you'll find out how those go together. Hi, Susie.
Hi, Mary.
I'm glad to have you as a guest.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
The Art League has a lot going on.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So after a few minutes of talking about palms, we'll get right into that.
Thank you.
Before we launch full scale into a conversation that will also include landscape trends in Leisure World, I want to highlight the palm tree. So ubiquitous, so iconic, so taken for granted. I say iconic because the palm tree, the image of it, is used in so many places. But, you know, do you always know what it means when you see a palm tree slapped on a label or on a piece of clothing? Well, even Studio Cafe, here in our own studio, uses a palm tree image, a very stylized one. It can mean victory, or peace, or fertility, or it might mean simply that you're in the palm latitudes. A location can be what you're using the palm tree to indicate. The country of Tonga used a palm tree on their zipper, on the front of their costumes at the Olympics. So where do you see palms, the palm image showing up? And what do you think it means? Well, it's something to think about. I got interested in palms by going on a palm tour of South Coast Plaza in Costa Mesa. The president of the Palm Society of Southern California was leading that tour, and it was amazing to see how many varieties of palms and what all the information he knew about their life cycles as we walked around the fairly new South Coast Plaza at that time. The Palm Society of Southern California can be looked up on the internet. Just go to palmssc.org, Southern California, Palm Society, SouthernCalifornia.org. And a lot more can be learned about palms. But speaking botanically, the palm tree is an angiosperm, and all of the flowering plants in our universe or in our world are angiosperms. And that means they have flowers and seeds. But their angiosperms are also separated, and the palm is part of the monocot section, not the dicot. And so strawberry plants and apples and lots of things like that, oak trees, are all dicots. But the palm is a monocot. That means that it has flowers that have three sections, not necessarily petals, but everything will appear in threes or multiples of threes, the stamen, all that sort of thing. Also, they have parallel veins, and of course you see that in the palm frond and even in the palmate, the leaf. There's some question about, well, how do palms ever stand up to the wind? When Mark Twain wrote about his trip to Hawaii, he said, they looked like a whole string of mops lined up and blowing in the wind. And our seal beach palms, the tall ones that were planted probably 80 to 100 years ago, also you wonder, how do they stand up? And it's because they are monocots. It's because they have very fibrous roots. And so that means that they, unlike a carrot, they don't send a main taproot down, but they have these very fibrous roots that start from the end of the trunk there, and they spread out, and they do go down sometimes as deep as 12 feet. So the palm has overlapping leaf bases and thickened enlarged cells, and these roots then are called prop roots, so they help it stand up. And the vascular system in that trunk is parallel bundles, and they're not organized like in an oak tree or maple tree in rings, but they're scattered. And so that makes it much stronger, that those vascular bundles are scattered, and they are more like a cable going up through that trunk. And so that's something I wanted to tell you about. There are other monocots that you're very familiar with. All grains, lilies, bananas, ginger, onions, bamboo, sugar, grasses, corn. You recognize that we're talking about things that are kind of, some of them are hollow and have the vascular. No, I don't think so. But they do have fibrous roots. And there's mixed opinions about where the basil plant, which this was an example of, where it falls in that. We know the familiar names of lots of palms. The queen palm has a special characteristic that it can live in places where the temperature goes as low as 20 degrees. Then there's Sargent's Buccaneer, cabbage palm, sable palmetto, Kunti, I have never heard of that, the Everglades palm, the queen. Now a queen sago, the sago palm is a different matter. The sago palm is an example of a cycad, and there are many of them growing in Leisure World, and they are they're actually a plant with cones, so it's a different type of plant. But there's the thatch palm, indicating its basic use in areas of the world, and the Washingtonian is the one that we see most commonly in around here in Southern California. Southern California has been very active in the International Palm Society and its branch, the Southern California Palm Society of Southern California. So I was going to, I think I did say that when I counted, I was on the pier in Seal Beach, and I counted 150 palm trees that were identifiable from that one spot. So,
Amazing.
yeah, and then I wanted to indicate the size of the trees. In the background here, I have some scabbards that are from the palm tree. I think they're very beautiful in their shape and design. And those came from a tree that was about 20 feet tall. So it has big parts. And the frond itself, when it's broken, can be as long as the trunk is tall. Of course, that wouldn't affect the ones that we have on these old streets which are so tall. I wanted to, talking about what does the palm mean to anybody, I wanted to read a little thing that a friend put in an art piece she made. She had, the center of the art piece was a photograph of the palm fronds at the Crystal Court in South Coast Plaza. And the writing was by Jay Gatsby, his Wanderings, Volume 2, that was first put into print in the 1800s, 1885. So we were visiting the Palm Court 100 years later. But here he says, an Arab woman, a native of Abu Sir, went abroad as a children's nurse and remained for 4 years. When she returned, all gathered around to satisfy their curiosity. What did you find there? Is it a fine country? Are all the people rich? Are they happy? She answered, the country was like a garden. The people were all rich. They had fine clothes, fine houses, fine horses, fine carriages, and they were said to be very wise and happy. The audience was filled with envy, and a sense of gloom spread over them as they show the discontent with their own condition. As they were departing with this sentiment, the traveler said, there was one thing missing. What was that? Said the Arabs. She said, there was not a single palm in the whole land. I looked for nothing else the whole while I was away, and I looked in vain. There was, are you sure? Was a general exclamation. Positive, said the old nurse. So this bit of information caused instantaneous change of feeling among the audience. As they went away, it was a sense of pity, not envy, that filled their breasts as they wondered, how could anyone live in a land without palms? So it can just mean home, oasis, that sort of thing. So we have imported the palm into Southern California, and it's part of our landscaping, and it's a good part. Isn't that right? Susie, tell us a little bit about what Mutual 15 has been doing in the areas that the Mutual controls the landscaping for.
The carports have been planted with xeriscaping, which is drought-tolerant plants, and they're mostly succulents. There are a few cacti, but the succulents are so beautiful, and I like to walk all over Leisure World, and I've taken some beautiful photos just to show people how colorful and exquisite they can be. And a lot of them, I think, are kind of shaped like the palm at the base.
They have
the way they grow up.
Related in ways.
Mm-hmm.
The palm, I'm not sure about whether they're monocots or dicots, but
I'm not either.
The palm is, I say, an associate with the ABC plants. That's aloes, bromeliads, cycads, and succulents. And,
very good. Yeah.
And these are so dramatically shown to everyone as they pass the ends of those carports on Del Monte as you first enter Leisure World.
They're fast growing, and like I said, they're very colorful. Some of them have magenta flowers and bright yellow and
Surprising.
crimson leaves. They're just beautiful, beautiful.
Well, I'm glad that that's going to be introduced more and more, because the drought in California is calling on us to stop importing what makes us feel at home as Easterners. In other words, maple trees, birch, different kinds of, people wanted to grow lilacs here in Southern California. And, they're not happy. These plants are imports. And even though the palm is an import, it is pretty happy here. And so, and these pygmy palms, I'm not just sure, I call them pygmy palms. They're small palms, not much more different from the size, this size, but a much finer frond. They're able to live below our gutter line, so that they are safe to have in your own garden, not necessarily planted by your mutual in the mutual areas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a contest, I guess, to, I don't know just what that's going to be, but in March you're going to find it in the newspaper, something about what's going on with that, and encouragement for that kind of landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
So I invited you as a mutual 15 person who would know about that special landscaping, but you're also an artist, and artists frequently use natural, organic material in their artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some artwork that has those natural materials here on stage with us. This masks, the mask behind me here, and this one were created by Stephen Cohen, and we're going to feature him as an artist in a program on that we produce in Leisure World. But you have a lot more going on in the Art League that you'd like to talk about.
Yes, we do. On March 14th, we'll have Spotlight on the Artist, and our artist that day will be Kate Pedigo, who many of you know. She's wonderful. And she's an author and artist.
And she's a past president of the Video Producers Club.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And that's March 14th. That's a Friday from 1 until 3, and everyone is invited to enjoy her beautiful artwork.
She's sort of a Grandma Moses. She's got kind of
Sort
a
of,
primitive
but
style, but
yes.
well, she's got regular things too.
And then March 20th, we have a pastel portrait workshop that's being conducted by Carmen Leslie, and that's from 1 until 4.
Is that in Clubhouse 4 in those?
Yes,
in the art room.
Mm-hmm, of Clubhouse 4. And then on March 27th at 7 p.m. we have our monthly Art League meeting, and everyone is invited to come and enjoy. We host artists from all over.
Your demonstrators are outstanding. I joined the club just in order to see those demonstrations.
Mm-hmm. They're wonderful. So there's a lot going on.
That's great. The photographs that you've taken of succulents are an art themselves, right?
Yes, yeah. And I wanted to say plants have been used for thousands of years by people. That's how we get our dyes in our clothes. And
succulents create.
Well, not succulents, but just plants, plant-based dyes. But the succulents, there are several photographers in Leisure World that you can see their arts displayed in the hall of Clubhouse 3, along with Art League members.
Yes, there's a special photograph club. Photography club. I don't know what they call their club, but they're separate from you. But
Right.
I know some members that mingle.
Gil Moore, if anyone is familiar with Gil Moore,
he makes his into
wonderful.
cards, and so
Yes.
he's specialized in flowers. I think for years.
And he's gone all over the world and takes the most beautiful photos.
But you can prove you don't have to go all over the world.
Right. I go
Inside
all over
Leisure World.
our Leisure World.
That's great.
Yes.
So the what I wanted to say was, more about palms. Is that although they've been in the Western world, the Arabs gave them up, and we've had them. In England, they opened Kew Gardens in the 1800s, about 1840, in the 1840s, and so the idea that that palms are exotic or strange is kind of blown, because we've known about them and we've had them in our company, and they grow very, very fast. As you were saying, succulents grow very fast. Palms do too. I had some dates, and I just planted a seed, and I didn't know what would happen, but I put a little post there so I knew where it was, and they didn't hoe right there. So pretty soon, it surprised me, and it grew so fast. I had to get it out of there while I still could, because it wouldn't have been happy. It was a date palm, which are huge, and
the birds will plant them too.
Is the palm? Do you suppose it's considered a invasive plant at all? Because they do.
I don't think so.
Because they can get scattered, and they do grow fast, and they are hard to get out once they get their
Yes, they
foothold.
are. Yes, they are.
Those are some questions I would have asked David Blindstein, the president of the Palm Society of Southern California, if he were here. But the knowledge about palms. Another thing, they actually have body language and sign language.
The palms do?
Yes, they can communicate if their nutrition is not correct. If they are missing, there's a thing on the web that tells you what your palm will look like if it's missing potassium or nitrogen or magnesium, or there's another one that starts with M, another nutrient.
Manganese.
Manganese. And you can look at the palm and it'll tell you. It'll speak to you. But the bad thing is it might take 2 years to correct the situation. And some of those things that go wrong with their nutrition can kill them because they have this direct vascular system. If they're missing what they need, not going to live with you. But I find the whole idea pretty fascinating, and I was going to tell you some of the places that the Palm Society of Southern California has had their meetings in past years. Of course, the Huntington Library, or the grounds there, the Sherman Gardens in Corona del Mar, the International Palm Society has had their meeting in Thailand, and but others in Encinitas, Santa Barbara, San Clemente, San Diego, in the Point Loma district, And in Whittier, there are two people who hosted they moved from one garden to another during the meeting. And so there are aficionados. Some of these people have hundreds of varieties in their half-acre or smaller, even a small yard can accommodate quite a few varieties if you know which ones to choose, and if your temperature is right and you're not too much wind. Some varieties like to be sheltered a little bit, but there's so much, it's a fascinating subject to me, and there's been some writing about it, and so I'm hoping that more people will, think about this palm tree that turns up all the time and know a little bit more about it.
Yes.
And I think that we may see more in Leisure World with this trend toward that type of tree that can live with less water. I've heard that the tree that used to be all over Southern California, this Mexican pepper tree, that if you water it too much, it doesn't thrive.
Right.
And that's true of succulents too. Some of them that come from Africa can be killed with kindness. So we have to, today we're getting a deluge, I guess, of rain, but our basic climate here is right for them.
Right.
And
they can be so easily started just from a leaf. When on my walks, if I see a leaf has dropped from one, I'll pick it up and take it home and plant it, and
nurture it.
a couple of months I have a plant.
Wow. That's true of African violets too. And well, we've had a little talk about these things, about the Art League and its many activities, and how many people are in the Art League?
I think there's about 50.
Very large group. Because they don't all have to be master artists to be in the group.
No.
So
we encourage everybody. Don't even have to be an artist. Just enjoy art.
That's good. And the Kate Pettigo's pictures, when they're in the spotlight, then they go to
the library.
To the library.
5 of them will go to the library.
So the library has a changing exhibit of Leisure World art from the Art League, and and you also have paintings in the hallway of the
Clubhouse 3 and the healthcare center.
The healthcare center. That's a long hallway.
Yes.
And those are changed occasionally as well.
Yes.
So lots of things from our artists in Leisure World, and thank you for being my guest on Inside Leisure World.
Thank you for having me.
We enjoy having this program and hope you enjoy watching it.